He's in Milan as well. And Alberto Negro, he's the man for this conference. He's seated in London.
So thank you very much to everyone. So it's 10 a.m. in the morning, and we are going to start our conference taken or given by Mediabanca, by Mr. Alberto Suarez, the one in charge, and his colleagues Alessandro De Vito, Beatrice Granola, and Alberto Negro. So you, everyone, I would like to introduce formally Ms. Lydia Becerra. She's been my colleague in this Educate Magus website platform for the Jesuit school around the world. And she has also accepted the invitation to join us in this presentation given about digital currencies for our students from Colegio San Ignacio, Santiago de Chile, and our friends in here in, there in Zimbabwe. So we are all ears.
Fantastic. Let me introduce who is in this call. And first of all, let me thank you, Colegio San Ignacio de Santiago de Chile, our close friend, Professor David Chamorro, and our new friends in Zimbabwe, and Lydia Becerra as well. So many thanks for the opportunity. So let me introduce who is in the call from Mediabanca and who is Mediabanca as well. So in the call, connected from London, you can see my colleagues Alberto Negro and Matteo Panchetti. Both of them are collected from our office in there, and they have been making a tremendous job on digital currencies, an area on which Mediabanca is a front runner on the international market. Mediabanca has been producing in-depth reports on the implication that digital currencies may have for the European economy and for the global economy as well. So this lesson is not, we are not intending to dilute any of the messages that we has been providing to international investors. It's just it is just thought as something that may help you to understand the evolution of the world in which we are living. Mediabanca is a pure investment bank, so this is what we do. We are trying to give investment advice to our clients that are in different locations around the world. For our positioning, we tend to operate on the American, on the European market, and we have also distribution hubs in North America, the Middle East, in Australia. We are extremely happy and honored with the idea of collaborating with your schools. We think that is an excellent idea to give high school students the possibility to become global citizenships, and for us, it's also an opportunity to give society something back. So without any further ado, I'm passing the word to my colleagues Alberto and Matteo, that will be leading this presentation.
Yes.
Thanks, Javier. I will let Matteo start, and then I jump in the presentation. It's a short presentation. It will take about 20 minutes. Matteo will start on explaining how we started this work, what is a currency, and then a deep dive in the digital currencies and why they are so important in this period, and what the other countries are doing, or companies, private companies are doing in this area and in this sector. Matteo, go ahead.
Yes, let me share my screen. 1 second. I'm opening the presentation. Just 1 second.
Maybe in the meantime, Matteo's open the presentation. We started this work during COVID. Actually, I cover banks, so I do research on banks, and that period was very difficult to focus on banks because everything was closed. And so with my head we decided to dig in this let's say new sector, new topic. It's very interesting topic, but actually when we started, we started from scratch without knowing anything about digital currencies. We are expert on banks, not on crypto digital. So we started from scratch, and the first question that we did ourselves was, okay, what is a currency? And I think we use money to pay every day, but actually the definition of money it's very difficult to explain also to the other people, because we are used to use it, but we don't know what they are actually in practice. And I think starting from that, it's really important to start from that in order to understand what the central bank, what the private companies like Facebook or the Chinese government are trying to do with these digital currencies. Matteo, can you?
Yeah, I can start and jump in. So first of all, I would like to give a definition of what is a currency. So currency mainly has three functions. It has to work as a medium of exchange in meanings that allow people to exchange items. The second key characteristic of a currency use is a store of value, meaning that people that want to keep or save, they can just accumulate something. And the third one has to be unit of have a unit of account, meaning that essentially it needs to provide a possibility to exchange something that could be divided into unit. So over history, there has been a lot of currency that has been used, starting probably from shells, then moving to salt, and then other like commodity-based mean of payment like gold, silver has been used as well. Overall, this has been sort of value as well during the time. But of course, this has probably has been some unit of account problem, meaning that you should have been able to obviously define an amount of item that need to be traded for something else. At a certain point in history, we decided to introduce cash in means of fiat cash. That's the definition of fiat currency that we use. So it means that we use a kind of payments where it's not anymore commodity based, given the fact that the money that we use today is just a piece of paper, but we basically associate with that a lot of trust. Before, the trust was in the commodity. So if you think about gold, it was the value of gold before, but now is not anymore about that, but it's essentially based on the trust that we have in the system. And what I mean with the trust that we have in the system, it means that essentially we are posing our trust in a central bank. And what the central bank does for us is essentially moving money either digitally or physically between people, that allow people to exchange much more quicker and efficiently their objective to buy and sell something. Before to just going on to what is a digital currency, I want just to stop here and making another differences between what the role of commercial bank is in this picture, because when we have a deposit account or something else which is related to digital money, essentially we have a claim to the money instead of having related to when we have something like cash, which we have a claim physically on the money. So that's the main difference. Then with the evolution of technology and everything, we had the digital currency. And the difference here from digital currency is that being a diversification for many central banks to not losing their power of controlling the systems in the sense of money. And this was mainly a response to other initiates from other corporates, essentially with one example would be Diem, for instance, which essentially create this stablecoin project where they allow people to, with interaction, to essentially transfer cryptocurrency between users. And in response to that, the banks decide to, the different central banks from China and from the US as well as the Europe, decide to respond and start this project of introducing digital currency. And then to develop a mean of payments, which be a diversification from the current one, essentially, without potentially trigger any problems to the issues with the current one, but slightly offering just diversification for the current one. Okay, and then from here we can see that, for instance, China, this is just a mention example, introduced with the digital renminbi, I mean, of payment that has been both a retail and a wholesale CBDC, which has been a long project that has now been finalizing and using in some countries like Africa or other, let's say, countries. And I'm just jumping in to see what instead the euro has been done with the Europe is taking a response to that as well, introducing the digital euro. And then I will let Alberto speak from here, that is expert on that.
Thanks, Matteo. So basically we moved from normal currencies that, as Matteo said, you trust is the only currently is the only mean of payment that has the trust on a central bank. Just because when we think about our deposits in banks, that deposits or that money are not let's say trust by DCB, but by the banks itself. So the only payments of mean right now that we have that is issued directly to the retail is the cash. So now, then Matteo mentioned, we had a few threats around the world that was like a wake-up call for all the other central banks. The first project was Diem Libra, which was a digital stablecoin project from Facebook. So now, why Facebook was planning to launch a digital currency? Well, it's very simple. It's very simple because they have a global reach. They are present in all the country around the globe, and they can, let's say, bring new clients, new users on their platform, not just to exchange image, texts, or see the picture of the others, but also goods. So they were creating a third independent private currency. So at that point, both the Federal Reserve, so in the US, and ECB started to be worried about and saying, okay, wait a minute, this private company has a global reach and can be more powerful than our monetary policy. So they started to say, okay, we need a digital version of the cash in order to limit what the private companies can do. And at the same time, you had China. China was the first country to launch a project on the CBDC. They started in early 2015, so many years ago, more than almost 10 years ago. And the goal for them is they know that they are the second largest powerful country around the world, but they know very well that their currency is weaker than the dollar. So when they exchange products, when they buy petrol or oil, they pay in dollar and not in renminbi. So they started to think about, we need a new way to pay goods and to invest in other countries with our currency. And the obvious answer to this was, we create a digital currency that can be used in other jurisdictions. And so at the end, the Western countries, so basically the ECB and the Fed, started to think, we need a digital currency. And the ECB started from scratch in 2018. They presented the first report in 2020. And what they are saying basically was, we are creating a very simple platform, retail platform, where people can use digital, the digital euro, which is just the digital form of the cash. Of course, this has very big implications for our system, because right now, the only form that you can have issued by the ECB is the cash, and all the other digital form are provided by the banks. So the day after they published this report, banks were a little bit worried, and they start to say, okay, what do you want to do with this platform? Because is my goal to intermediate savings, deposits, and to manage the payment system in Europe. And ECB answered to that, don't worry, you will manage the platform that I will create, but the real difference is that you will give people and citizens a new form of cash that can with a legal tender, so the trust is not on a commercial or bank or a government, but directly to the ECB. Of course, this is very technical, no? It's very a legal aspect of the digital euro, but it's the essence of this project, because the goal, the final goal of the ECB is to protect its monetary policy from all the threats that are around the world. And so they started from this, and they tried to create this platform in order to be very competitive to the others one. So at that time, in 2020, you had a big attention and focus, for example, on the blockchain technologies, on the stable coins, on Bitcoin. And so they started to say, okay, we need to create a product that is very useful, is very safe, and it's very easy to manage. After 1 year and a half, they finished this studying phase, and they decided to go in the, let's say, implementation phase, which means they are starting to choose which characteristic the digital euro should have. Of course, they know very well that the current system for a normal people is working very well. Why I need another wallet, digital wallet on my phone, and pay with a debit card or credit card instead of paying with digital euro? They are the same for the end, for the clients and the customers. The goal is the same. I need to pay. I need to go in the shop and pay my goods. That's it. So they are trying to put in this platform new features that can bring new clients, so the user of the digital euro. And which are these features? Okay, they are saying that the platform will be the safest payments of mean that you can have in Europe. The second one will be it's the only payments method that is common and equal across the entire Europe. So if you pay in Italy or in Milan, it's the same in paying in Madrid, in Germany, and so on. So they're trying to create a common European platform for payments. And then the second characteristic, there are several characteristics. I'm focusing on the most important one. Another one is offering smart contracts to companies. What are smart contracts? Are basically codes that automatically do something. And so the money, so the cash, the digital cash, will be programmable, which means if something happens, a payment can be injected. For example, we pay every year the insurance for our car, and if you make an accident, you have a refund. So, but this takes several steps. You need several people that needs to approve that refund. With digital currencies, will be much faster, saying if you break your car and you are allowed to have a refund, the payment is automatically. Of course, this is a good example in order to say that you can save money. For example, insurance, they don't need anymore several people to do this, but they just need a good system supporting this payment method. And you need just a programmer that makes this code, and then you are done for this business. So there are some incentives that ECB is putting on the table in order to attract new user. For user is customers, companies, payment companies, and banks. Now, the project is still ongoing. There are a lot of features that still need to be defined. For example, the real role of banks in this system. They will manage the platform, but who is taking the cost to build the platform? Or banks will charge something to the customers to use this platform? Yes. Who is charging? How much they will charge? And in this, a real important role is coming from the European Parliament. So the European Parliament needs to draft a law and make sure that is approved by the Parliament, this law that decide the rules of this platform. And they are working on that. There is a draft. But the new parliament still needs to go through that law. But basically, what they are saying is that we want a digital form of cash, which means if I go in the shop and I pay in cash, and one bottle of water costs $1, with digital currency needs to cost $1. It's you cannot charge people just because they are using a digital form of cash.
Alberto, let me do
Yeah.
a little bit the devil's advocate here.
Yeah.
So as a person living in Europe, and maybe in Chile and Zimbabwe is very similar. So the economy and the payment system has already become digital in the sense that when I'm receiving my salary, no one is giving me the money. I'm just my bank is paying me through a transfer, and I have a banking account that is digital, and that money only becomes physical when I go to a bank and then withdraw the money, that cash. And that process is already disappearing in Europe, and I think it's the same in America and in Africa as well, because through the digital transformation, the utilization of a smartphone, I'm not any longer using any physical money. How does digital currency add in anything? So what a digital currency means in practical terms for the utilization of payment systems that we are currently utilizing? Because my perception is that digital transformation has already happened without the necessity of a digital currency.
Yeah, this is true. In fact, what I was referring before was we already pay in a digital way in a shop or in around the globe. No, we don't need the digital euro. The real difference is that first you are managing something that is not in the hands of the banks, but is in the hand of the central bank, which was the first. This is the first time that people, normal people, customer and consumers can use a form of central bank money. And second, what they are trying exactly to do to build a platform that is completely different from the current one. And that means high level of privacy, needs to be very safe, needs to be without any charges, so free for the consumers. They are adding these smart contracts. Of course, there is an overlap with the current system, for sure. But I give you an example. China is investing in Middle East through the digital renminbi. What does it mean? It's saying, I give you $1 billion in digital renminbi to build, let's say, a road or a bridge. And how they are financing that with digital renminbi. So they are injecting digital renminbi in another country economy. So they are paying people with digital renminbi. And that people are starting to use digital renminbi to buy services and products. So they are increasing the influence of China on this country. Of course, this is the real goal of the government, of the ECB. For retail, they are trying to find the real innovative features to attract users. Actually, right now, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, we were used to pay just with the card, the real card, no? The physical card. Right now, we don't have anymore even the card. We pay with the phone. We pay with the watch. Exactly. We can pay with the face, with the finger. So it's not the, I think it's not the value added that digital euro can give to the end users, but it's more what you can offer to the end users to attract them on your platform and create an infrastructure, a digital infrastructure that can help you in competing with the other countries.
And
of
what
course,
happened in aggregated terms in Europe? And because if the central bank is issuing digital currencies, they are issuing they are increasing the total amount of money into the system. So in principle, that could create, by definition.
Yes, no. what they are what they are studying is that they will redraw money from the system and issue with the in digital currency. So there is no an expansion in monetary policy for them for the digital euro.
Exactly, and that is a very important point, because if not, that would be bringing inflation by
Exactly.
definition.
Inflation.
But somehow, and that is where I want to lead the conversation, there is a transfer of power that is very significant, because who is the issuer of, who is controlling the monetary system in every region are the central bank, and the role of the banking sector is somehow moved to a significantly lower level. Is that what we think?
Exactly. So what we are saying is that banks need a little bit to wake up and trying to find new products, to create new product and services on this platform. Because at the end, if DCB decide to do a digital euro, they will do it. There is no, let's say, there is no actions that banks can do against DCB. So what we are saying is that try to find and create new products and services that you can monetize with clients, but using the new technologies that are available in the market and the one the DCB wants to use as an infrastructure. So yes, banks needs to be involved, but at the same time they need to have a proactive approach with this project, and in order to help DCB in creating new services for citizens, and of course, on the same time they're saying, but we already offer these services, and just DCB is saying right now is saying offer the same services at lower cost. What we are
Would you
saying,
agree? Would you agree, Alberto, with the statement, and that is just to foster the discussion? But would you agree with the argument that digital currencies are just the means through which significant geographical areas are trying to impose their control on global economic transactions? Or putting the argument in a slightly different terms, what China is trying to do is to control the to make their currency to become the reference currency in the world. And Europe and the state are trying to defend their currencies as well, defending against that threat. And at the same time, there is a threat that is even bigger than the one that China means, that is the danger that the big IT companies may create their own private currencies, and that could be changing the structure of the world, isn't it? What do you think are the geopolitical implications of all this discussion?
No, exactly, is that. So the previous example of China is exactly what the ECB and the Fed are worried about. If you think also to the current geopolitical situation that we are living with Russia and Israel, so it's very easy that the old system doesn't work. So Europe and United States, the Americans, are imposing, for example, sanctions on Russia. But Russia is not using anymore the old system, the international system. They're using the Chinese system to avoid the US sanctions. So it's becoming very difficult for the old continents to, let's say, control the new big economies like China or like India and all these countries. And so the final goal is, okay, we need to be prepared. If these countries are developing in that direction, we need to prepare and have a same system in order to compete on that side. And also remember, Matteo, can you go to slide 14?
Yes.
The other one?
Yep.
Yeah, this one. In this slide, we show where we are, where European Union is strong compared to the China and US. Basically, we don't have any strategic asset. China is very good in 5G, social media, currents not yet, security, energy, they have everything. On the other side, also US. And we are in the middle. And so the ECB is starting to think about the digital currency as a way to impose a strategic asset at global level. So for that reason, they want to be, let's say, the first or the second after China to have a new form of money. And also they with COVID or also with the war in Russia, they realized that we are relying a lot on other countries. For example, it's true that we pay very easily in all shops around Europe, but we are always using US companies. When we pay, we still use MasterCard and Visa, which are not European companies, are still US companies. And so Europe are both the ECB and European Parliament are starting to say, okay, we need a European payment company that can compete with these global companies, because when something happens, they can switch on and switch off our system in just one night. And we don't have another system. So the other goal of DCB is to create a backup plan if something happens. It can happen with the US, with China, with Russia. It doesn't matter. But
And
in
Alberto,
order,
in this chart, I think that the argument is based on three major geopolitical areas: China,
yeah,
the States, and then the European Union. How do you see the international geopolitics being impacted by the big IT companies around the world? Because it couldn't be that if Amazon and let's think about all these students and how many transactions they are already doing with Amazon. What happens if tomorrow Amazon decides to implement its own currency and we suddenly realize that 20, 30, 50, 70% of all our transactions are done by a currency built up by a big IT company? What happens to international geopolitics and the equilibrium of power between maybe politics, maybe society, and maybe IT companies?
exactly, is what happened with the experiment that Facebook did. So when Facebook tried to issue a stablecoin or a private currency, then after 6 months, both the U.S. government and the Fed they started to say, okay, you cannot do that. You cannot issue your private currency. You need to use the dollar. And of course, this is becoming very difficult to control, because now Facebook is in the US, okay, and you have the legal system, the strong legal system of US. But if a big, let's say, IT or tech company is based in another jurisdiction, and they allow them to maybe without the dollar, with a very weak currency, and they allow them to issue a new currency, that is a global problem, a global issue. So the equilibrium, the global equilibriums are changing, and the geopolitical aspect of this project is very important. It's very important. It's the answer the CBDC, the digital currencies, are the answer to all these threats, global threats that are coming both from other countries, China, and also from private big tech companies that are trying to expand their influence not only on their sector, so the e-commerce like Amazon, but they're trying to take businesses that they were not used to manage. The payment, the banking. How many times we go on Amazon and now they give you the possibility to have a small loan to buy the iPhone, or a credit line to buy any good that you want. And that is basically a private company offering banking services without having a license of a bank. And this is an issue because banks are regulated, are under the watch of the supervisor, and while Amazon is not under the Fed control. So they are really worried about this situation, and especially with this global tech, because at the end, these global tech have a global reach with not companies, with users. Think about Facebook. Everybody here has an Instagram profile, and it's very easy to tell people, okay, let's put on Instagram also the Amazon products. You can buy the stuff that you can see on Instagram, you can buy through Instagram. It's already happening, and so they need to regulate that transaction. But if you need to regulate that sector, you need also a digital form of cash. You cannot rely.
What happened, just to again to promote discussion? What happened to the security of our, economies or our world or our society if we go into a model on which there are private currencies operating on the international market, and they are accepted as a payment method that are equal or even more important than currencies that are secured by I guess by a legal system that is protecting all of us against important things such as, for example, money laundering, or things that are ensuring the fairness in all payment system. Do you see that that is something that politicians and future politicians as our students should bear in mind, and something important to defend?
Yes, for sure. And I give you an example. In the previous, I think when Trump won the first election, we had all that campaign on Facebook and after the election saying that the campaign was fake, was made by IT guys launching on Facebook, promoting the Trump victory on Facebook, but was not driven by users, no? And that is really important to have a system that relies on stable regulations, and there is a government or a central bank that decide before what you can do and what you cannot do. If it's a private company managing the system, the payment system, okay, if it's Amazon, let's put it in this way, and one day can say, okay, this product, I sell this product at 20% discount. And after one day, they can say, no, it's not 20, now becomes 40%. Or the opposite, they can increase prices. So you manage the entire economy through a private company. And so this is very scary for politicians and government and central banks. And so they are trying to protect themselves with this.
You could argue, Alberto, and also, just for an open discussion, you could argue that this is the end of the democracy. that would be the end of democracy, because if we are transferring all our payment system decisions on important things such as monetary policy to a private companies, so how can we define our system as our democracy? And if that decision is taken just within the US and the European Union alone, just to protect the legal system, but other jurisdiction in the globe or other areas that has a different view are developing their digital currencies, how can a European or American jurisdiction protect against that? So I think that the argument that I'm trying to defend here is that it's much more scary and important than what we tend to believe. And I think that in the discussion on digital currencies, we are just seeing step number one. Step number one is to defend ourselves against something that maybe other important areas of the world are trying to develop. But this is not something that we cannot control, because that is something that probably goes beyond our means. And then there is a second step that that is obsessing me, is the implication of artificial intelligence on all this. And maybe just for Professor Chamorro, that would be an important area of debate as well, which are the implication of the development of artificial intelligence in all this. Because until now, we have been thinking about intelligent companies or private companies or different governments trying to influence the global monetary system. What happened if artificial intelligence got developed, and therefore we are transferring all that manages from a human being into an artificial device? Which are the implications for our society, for our freedom, for our democracies? I know that this is a big, very big question. It's a very open question, but yeah, it's open to debate.
We have seen it from my experience covering, the banking sector. We already saw this process with new technologies changing radically, not only how products are made or just the process, the business model of companies, but they are also changing the society. And it's a big risk that we are taking. We need to be prepared, at least know the risk, and then how we can manage these new technologies in order to change what we do with these new technologies.
And in the direction of which I wanted to direct this conversation is that, and that is an open-ended question rather than an answer, is that we need to be very careful about the amount of information and power that we are transferring to IT companies. And I think that society is not paying enough attention to that. And that is particularly true for students, that we are transferring and giving a lot of data to these IT companies. And I'm talking about pictures, I'm talking about information on what we consume, information on what we do, on where we are. I think that there is a transfer of freedom into these companies, and we are exchanging technology for freedom. And that is likely to change the world. So there is a book that I'm currently reading. So you guys, and I think that one of the persons that is included into this conversation has been in America. In every single American airport, there is a book called Nexus that has been published by a gentleman called Harari, that is a Jewish philosopher that has published this book about the influence of the new network, IT network in the world, that is artificial intelligence, and how that can impact our freedom as societies and as individuals. So we need to pay attention to all this, because I got the impression that we are not understanding the amount of information and freedom that we are giving in exchange for having a more powerful technology. And at some point, as a society, we need to think about that, the implication that has for all of us. And I think that digital currencies is a very important starting point in the discussion. But the discussion is bigger than that, is the influence that IT has on our society and the way the human being has been dealing with IT system. IT system has been helping the human being. There is a risk that IT system may replace the human being, and that the power and the relationship of power between human being and then artificial intelligence may be changing. and maybe has already started to change. And this very scary last statement, Professor Chamorro, was the end of this presentation, and we are very happy to take any question you may have.
Of course, of course. And yesterday we were walking by the beach with Homero, the one next to me, and we were talking about this. And I'm very proud that we are not that lost, because the end of a conversation yesterday was about the dangers of all our data. We're gonna be controlled if this system is not well cared. And what would be the role of governments? And I see that our governments are not prepared enough to to control and how to control and people prepare and seeing all the government implications or the social and sociological implications of this, because it is something. For instance, you are working in banks, but you're not necessarily aware of the social connection with the society. So it is getting even more, well, you have mentioned many times the word scary. It's becoming scary because we see that if there is no one controlling this system and just living on private companies or the government not well prepared to face the challenge, well, I don't know what's going to happen. Homero wanted to say something. Homero, please.
Yes, there are. I think there is an important point to see that the security and trust that we are talking about, that the central banks and the government do not trust in private companies, but there are other issue of trust with the people, that people may not trust the central bank of the governments or the private companies, and that in that case we saw some important movements around the people within this movement of Bitcoin, a decentralized system to do payments with the double spending issue that has the decentralized system fixed. And this is an important part that we need to see how the people reacting to these digital currencies, and how the freedom is involved in these cases of private companies, governments, and central banks, and the decentralized system as Bitcoin and others that has in these days a huge popularity between the more technical people. I think it's an important point to review in this presentation too.
I go, Javier.
You go, Alberto.
No, I was saying I agree with you. If you think when DCB started this work, they were worried about the Bitcoin, and they thought, okay, we can create a blockchain managed by banks, but still on a blockchain, because at that time was very popular in saying, okay, the blockchain will change the world and is the best technology of our area, no? Without completely missing all the risk that you have. I see Bitcoins as an opportunity as a way to study new technologies, as an investment. I agree, it's an investment, and more we will see these new digital assets be trade between people and companies. But I still believe that cannot be a reliable payment system, because it's not created for that. and there is no one that can check and control the transactions that are happening on that platform. And so basically the platform, if they're doing a payment, is for just because people, they don't want to tell that they are doing the transaction. They want to remain anonymous. And I can understand that you want to be anonymous for small payments, but if you are transferring billions and billions, I think our governments and our states and needs to control that transaction. And right now you can't. It's the same example that I give you on Russia. How Russia is trying to escape the US sanctions is exactly that. And I think if you look at on YouTube, the small videos that the ECB is preparing for the digital euro, the most important word that they say always is privacy. Why? Because they want the privacy. When you pay in cash, a small let's say amount of cash, no one's know. You go in the shop, you give $1, they give you the product. No one knows that you have bought that product. And currently on a digital platform, it's not true, because if you go on Amazon and you buy something, and then you go in your account, you can see that product. Someone can see you that product. If you go in a shop, you pay by card, the state, the government knows that you have paid that product, you have bought that product. And what they are trying to do is, okay, I give you some privacy. Let's say below 100 euros or $100, I don't collect the personal data. And this is a feature that is currently not available, because Visa, MasterCard, and all the scheme providers are collecting your data. Then they are obligated not to use it, okay? But there is a risk that the data can be used in the wrong way, no? So you got the point. Why the central banks are trying to study these new technologies.
Mr. Negro, we have some students from Zimbabwe that would like to ask questions, and also there is one from Chile, Gianfranco, the one there.
Yeah, yeah. Well, in my opinion, I found this whole presentation very interesting to understand how money works today and how the digital money works. Understanding how the market and transactions with digital money work. And this presentation was very useful to me. Since I am in an economic class, and we are in the class, we are speaking, we are learning about how the works around the world bank, how the banks works around the world. And so this presentation helps me to complement information from my class. And now I have a question for you. And do you think the digital currencies like Bitcoin are the future? Or do you think that in the near future, there will be another type of currency or another type of transaction?
Well, let's first see if we will have a digital currency, because right now, as a digital currency, we have just few examples, the Chinese one, and as I said before, Bitcoin is not a currency, is more an investment. and they are trying to let's say limit the power and the transaction that you can do with bitcoins. So I think yes, we will have more than a new technology or new way, new payments. I think we'll have for sure a digital currency, and then building on this platform new services that maybe now it's right now we cannot think about, and they can change how we live right now, the product that we have right now. I give you maybe an example. Right now we are used to, for example, go on our bank branch, and ask for a mortgage, or we go on the website and we ask for a mortgage, but we go to our bank. So if I have an account to Santander, I go to Santander, I ask, can you give me a mortgage? Can you give me some money? In a digital world, you can also create a common platform where you can go there and ask, I need a mortgage. And you don't care if it's Santander, if it's Bank of America or UBS giving you the money. You're just going in a platform and asking what you need what you need. And is completely different from the world that we live, because usually we have a personal relationship with the bank for right now in our age, for already common services. Every banks gives you the same common service, so there is no difference between the UniCredit, the Santander, the Bank of America, the UBS services. So I think we will have a new products and new innovations on the base of this digital world. As Javier said, we need to be very careful how we manage data, what we give to the IT companies, and all these kind of let's say things. By the end, the world is going in that direction, and we cannot stop it. So rather than trying to stop these developments, we need to think about how we can change our behaviors in order to be prepared and aware of the risk of that platforms or products or whatever we are talking about.
Okay, Alberto. And we had a student from Zimbabwe. It was first Kupawashi. Are you going to speak Kupawashi? And no, he's not able. And Dino Mudaishe. Sir, we can listen to you. Dino Mudaishe. Can you there?
Hello,
Hello.
can you hear me?
Perfectly, sir. Go ahead.
So I just wanted to ask if you guys think the world is ready for digital transactions or investments with all the security concerns.
Yes, I think it's a good point. If you think about the security of this system, needs to be very safe for peoples. And I give you an example. If you use the blockchain or the stable coins that we right now we have, and you lose your money, who is the person, who is the entity that you can ask help or ask a refund? So if my banks, for error, transfer some money from my account to another, I can go to the bank and say, look, did you do this? Or there is an error. You need to refund me for what I received. And with the blockchains or all these kind of stable coins, it's very difficult to say, oh no, it's your fault and you need to give me back my money. So the safety of these platforms, I think, it still need to be decided, and it's very low. It's very risky, not only on investment perspective, but it's also very risky on how the platform is managed. If you lose a Bitcoin, you cannot go to the US government and say, look, I need a refund of 1 Bitcoin, because they will say, I don't manage the Bitcoin. I don't know what they are. So yes, it's a good point, and security and safety of the system is, I think, is one of the core aspect of all these projects.
We have a question, and it's going to be the last 2 questions because our friends
Right.
from Zimbabwe have got a mass in 20 minutes. And of course, you might have lots of work also in Milan, London, or wherever you are. Mr. Topawashi, please.
Thank you very much, sir. My question was to ask do you really think that your plans will be successful in translating the euro into a digital euro by 2028? Thank you.
I hope so. I hope so. So there is a political, let's say, ground that at European level, they want to create, they want to launch a digital euro. ECB is already at the end decided. They are studying, saying that they are trying all the technologies and the features of the digital euro. By the end, they decided to launch a digital euro. I think what is missing is the political support from each country of Europe. So, for example, you have Italy and Spain and France as a big supporter of the digital euro. At the end, you have Germany that is not very happy in having a common digital payment system, because they are, let's say, worried about sharing their systems also with the other states. So at local level, yes, there are some obstacles that needs to be addressed. But I think at European level, they already decide to have, because they know very well that this is very important for Europe for being independent from the external threats that we have now. So I think the project is going, and without any, I think they are still discussing how and the specific technicalities, but I think at the end we will have a digital euro.
Thank you, sir. And here we have the final question by Javier.
Hello. Can you hear me well?
Yes.
All right. After this presentation, I've got like adding information, and I wanted to ask you all. But for this, I have to context this question. So it is very interesting to think how different types of economies that exist, for example, from United States to China, which are two completely different types of economies, can be sustained by themselves, like you have already showed in that table, that comparison. And Europe, as such, which has mixed economies related to the state, has had a hard time recovering after the pandemic situation. And for this reason, I would like to ask you, what is the best type of government to motivate the growth of this digital system? The liberal government, centralized government, or mixed government?
Wow.
That is a super question. Yeah.
Super question. Javier?
Yeah,
Yeah.
let me answer in the following way. Centralized governments are always easier to manage, always. But that goes against the concept of democracy. That goes against that concept of moving things in a centralized way. So I think that the histories of the Western world and democracies in the Western world has been about the distribution of power, avoiding concentrated of power. So you look at what has been done through the last 200, 300 euros in the world, it has been trying to separate the executive power from the legislative power, from the judicial power. So it is a question, I think that the question from my point of view is not who is more likely to be successful, and it's about who is taking more seriously the implication of implementation for society and any one of us as human beings. I think, but yeah, I don't want to make an argument, a political argument on this. I want to make an argument that is much more on the necessity to protect human beings and our democracies against something that could be bigger than us.
All right, thank you so much, Javier.
Thank you to everyone. Thank you on behalf of my students. We are very happy, and well, I'm a teacher, English teacher. I'm not really involved in economics, but I have learned so much from you on this occasion and the previous occasion. And this is an honor for everyone. I'm very lucky that I have met Javier's son, because we have grown as a community, and this is just because of we are loving each other, and God is helping everyone to be and supporting students who are very interested. And I've told that everyone in my school that this is great, because economy is a very important part of our the things we have to trigger on students to be students who are always caring about how to make this world in a better way. So on behalf of my students, thank you very much. Lydia, would you like to say something on behalf of your students?
Sure. Thank you, David. On behalf of my students, I would like to extend my heartfelt thanks for taking this opportunity to speak with our students, with my students. I think they have learned a lot. They have more questions right now, but unfortunately we don't have much time. But I hope we are going to have another session in the near future. David, I know David will organize will organize another meeting for us. To Mr. Suarez and your colleagues, I would like we are very grateful to have an alumni like you who are willing to give back to the community. I thank you very much. Have a good day. Thank you so much.
So from our point of view, David and Lydia, has been a real pleasure to hearing from all of you. It is an honor for Mediabanca to have this collaboration with your school. I think that your student has done an excellent contribution to the debate, so congratulations to them. And maybe one day they are going to be the politicians deciding our future. So we are also very interested in hearing from them, because they are the future.
That is the point.
Thank you so much.
Thank you to you, Mr. Suarez. Thank you to your team, Beatrice, Alessandro, and Alberto.
Thank you.
And
Thanks to you.
Mateo.
Thank you.
Thank you to you all, and we'll see you next time.
Speak soon. Thank you so much. Hasta
Thank
pronto.
you guys. Have a nice
Bye.
day.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Hasta
Bye.
pronto.
Bye.
Speak soon.
Thank you to
Bye.
everyone.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, Lydia. It's been great.
Thank
I told you that this deserved the time, and these parents, I mean, Javier is a father of a student from a Jesuit school, is such a great,
Yeah,
such
yeah, sure. Thank you so much for organizing such a meeting.
yeah.
We have learned a
Well,
lot.
I will send you the recording so that you can share with your students so you can see that and analyze again because it is scary. That is the word, scary. It is
Yeah,
what's
sure.
happening in the economy nowadays. So see you, Lydia, and have a nice